Just having a look at them, all curled up, feeling very sorry for themselves. I think that's the quietest I've ever seen them. And last night when they were suckling, I don't think they were getting very much milk anyway. They might have got a bit. Wow. Thanks, Kirst. Kirst said that lions have about 470 taste buds. That's impressive. I think, wait, we as humans have more. Don't we have a few thousand, if I'm not mistaken? Why am I thinking of the number 3,000? I'm going to do some searching. 10,000. We have 10,000 taste buds. So there we go. So not quite as, lions' taste buds not quite as developed as ours, but they're definitely there, which is pretty cool. I wonder if they do have a preferred choice of food. You know, if all the meat tastes different to them, like it tastes different to us, it must. I suppose when you are hunting, you just take what you can get and whatever is around. You can't be too picky. Otherwise, if we had picky lions, you'd probably see some very thin ones. We see thin lions more regularly. Shame, look at them. They're absolutely exhausted. And not from running around and playing, just because they've got no energy. They haven't got any food. You know what you feel like? Say if you've gone for a run and then you haven't eaten for the entire day, you start to feel lightheaded, your sugar's low. And that's exactly what will be going on with these young cubs now. They're just wanting to be rest. I mean, don't worry. They're not on the verge of dying. They're very, very healthy. And I have no doubt that by the end of this evening, the Sausage Free Pride will have prey in between their claws. They'll be eating. They're very determined. But also, girl, if you keep contact calling like this and anything does pop around, the animals are going to know that you're here. She's just going, she's moaning. Ooh. Ooh. I better not do that. Maybe she responds to me. Anyways, I think we'll hang around for a bit. We might do a loop and see if we can find anything else in the area and come back here. Scott has also got his cheetah, but it seems as though they are doing exactly what the lions are doing and just resting up.
They have been, up until a few seconds ago, this cheetah's just started looking back towards a Topi that's alarm calling at the lioness that's very close to this cheetah. And, oof, I wonder if the lioness didn't maybe spot the cheetah. There's the Topi over there. Where's it gone? Oh, there it is. It's just moved off. Decided enough's enough. It's not going to hang around. Good move. I love the way they prance off very proudly once they've realized that they've got some possible predators around. Now the lioness is also repositioned, and I'm wondering if the fact that it has repositioned is going to open up an angle for her to see the cheetah. I don't think so. Just remember that they're very low to the ground, so any small little bushes, which there are a few of between the lion and the cheetah, are going to obscure one another's view of each other. So I'm still fairly confident they've got no idea they are so close to one another. Now, another vehicle drove off to the other cheetah that was in the sighting before it got chased off by a male lion, and it was confirmed that it's a male. Now, I would guess that that means that that is the son to this female cheetah, and I'm fairly certain either Brent or Jamie had a sighting for the first time of this mother and her sub-adult male in the week that I was away recently. I'm not sure what area they saw them in, but I'm hoping the researchers should be here shortly to shed some more light on who this cheetah is. No, it'll be interesting to see what happens once she's finished grooming herself. Grooming and yawning is a very good indicator that cheetah or any big cats are going to get up and moving. Hello, Becca. You'd like to know if brother and sister Cheetah will hang out together once they move out of home. And I guess they could, especially for the first few months, but how long they'll stick together will vary between the individual relationships between various siblings. I know for a fact that there's two sisters that have been hanging out for about 4 or 5 months since departing their mother's care, but I'm not 100% sure about whether a male and a female sibling would hang around for as long with one another. Good question. I've got no first-hand experience of a brother and sister hanging out together, so I cannot conclusively say that that is, in fact, a possibility. What a beautiful scene. I wonder if that bank of clouds is going to bring us some rain. We haven't had some rain for quite a long time, or at least since I've been here. Been back here for a few days since my leave ended. Definitely makes our life easier not having the rain to deal with. It creates a problem both whilst it's raining as well as afterwards, because it makes off-roading in a lot of the roads very, very slushy. Another thing that's interesting, I'm just going to ask Jar to pan to the left to where anywhere where there's large herds of wildebeest. And in theory, there are not supposed to be that many wildebeest left here. And what's interesting is that there is a migration, or there used to be rather, a migration of wildebeest into an area called the Loiter Hills, which is kind of to the east of us, possibly a little bit north. And there's been a lot of human population growth in those areas and a lot of fences and farms being put up. And the theory goes, I'm no expert on the matter, but the theory goes that the loiter herds, the herds that used to migrate to the east and not down into Tanzania, have now not really got an option to do so, which means they're going to hang out in the Mara for much longer. And it's obviously a big change from what used to happen, and who knows what impacts it will have on the ecosystem. One of the short-term benefits that I think we will all be able to enjoy is the possibility that they will all be calving here in January or February. And thanks, Jahawi, for pointing out a lot of the facts that I've just shared with you. Jahawi Spence, who I'm teamed up with on camera today, spends a lot of time in the Masai Mara, and he's actually managed to film the loiter herds birthing in the plains to the east of us. And he could well have filmed one of the last actual birthings that took place there before the wildebeest realized that there's just too many people there. Oh, good news. Helena's arrived, the researcher. Morning, Helena. How are you doing?
Great.
Good. So, this is the female. The lioness is behind her, not far. And it was a male that was chased off. Your friends, the donors, went and checked, and they said it was a male. He's just up on the ridge behind us.
Oh, it's interesting, because I was suspecting it must have been Miale with the sun. She was far away from here yesterday, so it's really weird. But this is her territory too, so
Okay.
maybe she was walking over here. Let's think that, because now they're at the time of dispersal, so they
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, Helena's got her binoculars out. We're live, but it's all good. We're very happy that you're here, because now you can tell us who it is.
then I have to come close.
Perfect. You do what you need to do, Helena. So, Helen is a wonderful, wonderful lady. She is a Russian, actually, whose dream was to come to Africa for it took her about 20 years. She worked in various zoos and other parts of Africa doing research on cheetah, and she's finally here, and she is a bundle of energy, information, and fun. There she is in a little car, and she's a hectic lady. She spends often the whole day out here, sitting often alone, doing microphone recordings. She's trying to work out about how the cheetah communicate with one another. Very good. Well, we are going to stay here. She seems to think it could be a female cheetah called Mahali with her son. She said yesterday she was quite far from here, but that is the joy of the wilderness, is that we often can be surprised that animals can move very, very large distances. Let's watch here. There's a young reedbuck that's just popped onto the scene. The reedbuck are just to our left, and even though she's full, very full, she may have a go for them. I'm not sure what the reedbuck we're running from. It could just be this windy weather that's getting them worked up. What is going to happen here? I think she's so full that these reedbuck are going to have to literally run into her for her to orchestrate a chase, but we will give it a few moments and wait and see. Let's have a quick look at the reedbuck there, just so we can show everyone how panicked they are, or at least how panicked looking they are. You can just get the one there though. That's the younger reedbuck, and the mother's just off to the left, sadly out of view, but you can see they're kind of poised, listening very carefully. And in very windy weather like this, you can imagine how terrifying it is, even in an open area like this, for the prey species, because they just don't know if any of the noises they are hearing are possibly something creeping up on them, or if it's just the wind rustling the leaves. Very good. Yes, Grateful Dad, it wouldn't make huge sense for the cheetah to make a kill right now, because, like you say, the lion will steal it, and it'll also possibly, kill the cheetah while the cheetah are preoccupied with their meal. So it wouldn't make sense. But this cheetah doesn't know that there's a lioness right behind her. So I guess that is just the gamble that cheetah take every time they chase something. They don't know that they could be running straight into another predator that could cause them harm. Let's just give it a few more moments before we send you off to Tristan. You can see she's perked her head up again. The reedbuck are moving again, but I'd be highly surprised if she has a go for them. They do really like reedbuck. They're the right size prey for cheetah, but they are quick, and she is very full-bellied, so I don't think she's going to be hugely motivated to run after them. Well, it seems like they've now disappeared into the safety of those thickets where they might be bunkering down for the day. They tend to be more nocturnal than diurnal, the reedbuck. They usually bunker down during the daylight hours. You don't see them very often during the day, and then come out at night. Good. I think now is a good time for you to go back to Tristan.
Well, I've got some crazy exciting news. Well, I'm excited about it. I'm sure many of you will be excited, but there is a possibility, just maybe, an outside chance that we might see Mr. Q this morning, quarantine. He's apparently on Chitwa and is moving around, so I don't know if we're going to be able to get to him in time, but we're just waiting to hear exactly which way he's going and whether or not we get a chance. Now, I personally have never even seen Quarantine. He's the only offspring from Kruger that I haven't seen, so I'm super excited that he's at least a possibility and that we might get a chance to see him. So that's really epic news, and so I'm just sitting quite close by now and just waiting to hear which way he goes. He's right on the fringe of Nkoro and Chitwa, and hopefully he comes into the Chitwa and comes deeper and we'll be able to see him, which will be so cool. So super exciting news. Also, it's been so long since we've seen Quarantine on any drive that I'm sure a lot of you are also just as excited as I am. I know a lot of you love Quarantine and we never really get to see him, so I'm pretty sure a lot of you will be super excited to see our male again and see how he's doing. Of course, like I say, I've never seen him, so I don't even know how big he is or what he even looks like. I know he's a firm favorite. I think Scott used to really enjoy Quarantine. I know Brent was a Djuma boy, but I'm not sure about Jamie and Taylor, if they ever saw Quarantine and what they feel about him, but I know he's been a firm favorite of a number of our presenters before, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to see him. Otherwise, it's super quiet. We've had very little to kind of really been no tracks to work with, very few birds around. There's been the odd kind of sparrows and quellias and hornbills and the likes, but other than that, really not very much happening at all, which is a bit of a shame. I was hoping we were going to have a busy morning when I heard those lions roaring this morning. I was hoping there was going to be lots and lots of action. But in saying that, like I say, if we get Quarantine, well, then everything will be all right in the world. It'll be actually better than all right, that's for sure. So here's to hoping, like I say. But what we're going to probably have to do is just sit on the main road for a while and just see. Sorry about that. So we just went through the Mulawanini, which we know can be a little bit fickle at times when it comes to the gremlins. So as I was saying, if he's in Nkoro, it's very difficult for us to be able to get there, but if he crosses into Chitwa, then obviously it works really well. The nice thing is he's not too far sort of north, so he's not imminently going to cross into Torchwood. He's more kind of towards the south area, so I'm just waiting to hear if he comes over onto our side. Apparently there was also reports of Tingana being in the area, so I wonder if the two of them are carrying on their nonsense again. They both were at a kill the other day, and it seems as though they ended up just kind of breaking apart and everything was okay in the end. But let's see, I don't know, maybe the guys are also getting confused between two leopards, but let's have a look and see. Maybe we'll get lucky, maybe we won't, I don't know. It's going to be interesting either way, but we're going to try and just drive around Chitwa for a little bit and just wait for him to cross the side. There's a bit of rain falling actually this morning, which is a surprise. I didn't realize we were going to get rainy weather. Now, I believe all of you are very excited to see Quarantine as well. I hope that you are. It's going to be a very special thing for me, especially. Like I say, it's been a special thing to follow Karula through her life and to see her offspring and to kind of have one that I haven't seen is always been a little bogey animal. And Quarantine has been a huge kind of tough animal for me. I know Jamie had Nkanyeni, where she just never could get to Nkanyeni and see him, or see her, should I say. And so Quarantine has been like that for me. I mean, I've spent a long time in this area, and every single time I try and get to that leopard, he goes somewhere where I can't see him, or he crosses into a different property, or he's lost by whoever's following him and we don't find him again. So it really is a leopard that I've struggled to find, struggled to see, struggled to kind of get any visual of, and so I'm super looking forward to actually catching up with them. You know how I am with leopards. I really am besotted with them all, so I can't help myself when I find them. Now, while we're kind of waiting, we might as well watch a beautiful Battalier eagle that is just drifting slowly but surely through the grey sky. It's an eagle that will be starting to get into flight now that it's, I suppose it's not really warm, but it's warming up, if we can say that. And the nice thing about a Battalier eagle is that the Battalier eagle is a bird that doesn't really need to get too high to spot prey. It often flies quite low to the ground, and it's fairly unbalanced at the best of times with that short tail. So you do see them even flying in these cooler conditions a lot more than you would see some of maybe the other birds of prey. But it's kind of nice because it's just sort of spending a lot of its time right above us. It's actually not drifting away too much. Often what you find with these Bateleur eagle, or any eagle, when they're circling like this, is that they tend to drift quite far, and you tend to not be able to see them fairly quickly. So nice that this one is being quite obliging and is really just kind of hovering right above our heads at this stage. Now it looks as though it is a male. I'm trying to see properly, but it looks like a male because at the end of the day, it looks like thick black lines. I can't see very well, but well, I think so. Anyway, we'll try and carry on and try and hopefully head off towards where this male leopard is. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe he'll be on our side. And so while we head off in that direction, let's go back to Taylor Mack and see where she is and what she's up to and whether she's got anything of interest to show you.
How exciting is that you could potentially be seeing Quarantine? I think it's been quite a while since you last saw that handsome fella. So that's quite nice. I miss him. I definitely do miss the leopards of the Sabi sand, that's for sure. Hopefully we're going to find some leopards when we go across the other side of the river this afternoon, which will be quite nice. We might have to change our plans slightly and head up to the area where Scott is, as I don't know if there's much happening down in the south at the moment. I think it's particularly quiet. I haven't heard any amazing sightings that have been going on down that way, but we'll just take it as it goes throughout the day. Now we left our lions because they just went back to sleep, fast asleep in the grass. Couldn't even see them anymore. And there was no prey around, and I think that they realized that they're going to have to go walk about. But they don't actually need to go far. All they need to do is come down towards the main road, which I hope they do, because there is an abundance of warthogs and zebra and all sorts of other things just on the southeastern side of the road. And now I don't know where we're going. Now we're going to drive for a little bit until we find something else. We'll probably cut through towards the Mara River. We might take one of the next roads on our left, one of these grassy tracks that cuts through this massive open area, and then head down that way. I do see a couple of vehicles veering off. I wonder if they're going to the lion sighting we had. I just want to check and make sure that nobody's moving around. Or they could just be going to the breakfast rock. That's the other thing. That's to go and have something to eat. Oh, it's not nice on the side of the triangle today. Let's carry on. Oh, car, don't brake. I keep having trouble with these vehicles. Like, I'm listening now. There's something going on over here and I don't like it. It's a strange noise, but we'll fix it. We'll have a look under the hood of the car in a little bit. Let's keep going. Where are we going to go, Manu? That cheetah hasn't been spotted in quite a long time, so I think she's moved somewhere. I don't know where she's moved though. That car, I think, is going to the breakfast rock. We'll just keep heading this way. Ooh, right, it sounds like Scott's creating a bit of dust. Let's go see what's happening.
Got that one there. They're just straight in the gap between the two wildebeests. Hello everyone, welcome back. We have been racing around. You had them there. Just zoom back into that area right a bit. There we go. We have got the Musketeer Coalition. You can see at least 2 members here in screen. And we just saw wildebeest stampeding wildly from about 2 miles away, and we've raced here as fast as we possibly can to try and see these boys continue to try and hunt down a wildebeest from this herd. There are plenty of wildebeest around, and it's just going to be, I think, a matter of time until they find the right individual to take down. Now I'm guessing the other 3 cheetah, part of this coalition, are off to the left. Oh no, they're off to the right. They are, at least I've just seen one off to the right. Where did it disappear to? Oh, it's still there. It's just to the left of that vehicle. Yeah, there we go. So there's the 3rd one. And they have been creating absolute havoc amongst this herd. We've been breaking the speed limit to get here because it was just simply too exciting knowing that the 5 of them were chasing these wildebeest, and from a huge distance off we could just see clouds of dust and wildebeest stampeding in every which direction. And I'm guessing that these cheetah are not finished their morning business just yet. I've just spotted another cheetah to the left of the initial 2 that were fringe of the herd. Is going to happen next. The tricky thing for the cheetah is that when there are so many wildebeest during the day, they can kind of keep track. There's the other 2. They can kind of track the cheetah away if they do manage to bring down a youngster. So they don't, the cheetah I'm guessing that the cheetah may have actually possibly given up on this herd, judging by their behavior, and are possibly heading straight towards a tree to scent mark on. So let's get into a better position for that, seeing as I'm not expecting them to chase the wildebeest. If and when the cheetah are hunting, it's sometimes best to actually position yourself a little bit further away and predict where the action is actually going to finally take place, where a takedown may take place. Whereas when they're just coming to scent mark at a tree, it would make sense, I think, to come and stop over here. Look at all the wildebeest stampeding away here. What an awesome scene. Incredible. They've had enough and are making a good move getting out of this area. Hello Timmer, you would like to know how many cheetah does it take down to bring down a wildebeest? Well, a young wildebeest can be taken down by a single adult cheetah. Not easily though. It's still quite a wrestling match. For an adult wildebeest, definitely at least 3 or 4 cheetah. These 5 are immensely powerful because of their numbers. But catching a large prey is not the problem. It's being able to bring it down and dispatch it, where you often find the extra numbers come into assistance. These cheetah are still looking very, very intently, trying to find any weaknesses in the herd. If they notice one wildebeest with a slight limp or one youngster that strays too far from the rest of the herd, they will definitely seize that opportunity. And the fact that it appears that they are going to walk straight past this tree means that they are still heavily focused on getting breakfast. Let's see if they do veer past it. If they do, that means we've got good prospects for another hunt. And what they could be doing is just getting their breath back as they continue to pursue this herd. Magical stuff. Well, they've got a little bit sidetracked. But that's not to say that we are not going to see them try and get breakfast after this. Have a look on the right here quickly. The wildebeest are now all, having run away, they've all started moving back up towards the cheetah, keeping an eye on them. Imagine being the brave leader at the front, or I guess they're all taking turns, egging one another on. I really thought they would have caught one by the time we got here, when we were watching the commotion from a distance as we raced to get here. You can hear them all snorting. And they're getting closer and closer to these cheetahs. I'm guessing at the moment they're probably about 50 meters away. Be careful, wildebeest. These guys are not to be messed with. Well, aren't we so lucky to have already seen... Oh! Now, cheetah aren't good climbers, but they do try from time to time, so be ready to see this one come tumbling down the tree. Or possibly abort mission. Yeah, that's a better idea. Hello Lily Lee, you'd like to know if D'Artagnan, the male with the collar, is always the one that leads the hunt, and no, he certainly is not. We thought that he was the kind of dominant male and the lead hunter when we first met him, but that was simply because we saw him make one of the first, or definitely the second kill we ever saw them take down. But it's definitely fair to say that they... Well, we're not sure out of the other four exactly who's been making kills, but I'm fairly certain they all kind of take turns depending on who's feeling energetic and hungry. But there could well be a dominant hunter, but we haven't worked out who that is just yet. The wildebeest have come as close as I think they're going to, and some of them are now thinking it's a bad idea and turning around and moving off. There we go. That gives you a good idea. And what will the cheetah do now? Are they going to lie down and relax, or are they going to continue to hunt? Hi Nancy, you'd like to know what is the logic between predators or prey animals approaching their predators? And I guess the saying, better the devil you know than that you don't, would be applicable. If you can see your threats and know about them, you can deal with them. And it's the same for us as humans a lot of the time. If you know about threats to your business or any threats to your family, you can deal with it. If you don't know about them, they can ambush you. And that's what predators very often need in order to be able to succeed. I need to turn the car a bit because I'm thinking this cheetah is going to give these wildebeest a bit of a chase. And if it does, we are not going to have got the right angle. Okay. This is better. What I've learned with these cheetahs, I haven't seen them often hunting big herds during the daylight hours like this. They usually do it after dark when they can create more confusion. But what we can expect to see is the cheetah almost running in like dogs. And once the wildebeest start running and the cheetahs start running in and amongst them, they can almost herd a youngster away or peel a youngster off, push a youngster away from the rest of the herd and take it down. So they may at any moment charge in and start hunting these wildebeest, not hugely dissimilar to a pack of wild dogs. What an awesome scene. Hello Indiana Brian, I'm just going to move forward a little bit so we don't get left in the dust if they do in fact decide to chase. You would like to know what is the success rate of this coalition of cheetah, and in my presence and history with them, they've had almost 100% success rate. Whenever they've tried to catch something, they've succeeded. And that's why I was very surprised that we didn't see them on top of a wildebeest by the time we got you, because they'd been chasing them for quite some time, and I think they are about to launch another attack now. That one in the front is looking like it's raring to go. They obviously just haven't singled out a youngster that they are comfortable to take down. It's not to say that they can't take down larger wildebeest. They have been known to take down bigger wildebeest, not just the youngsters. Let's keep moving. It's always tricky to know where to position the vehicle in situations like this, and we always want to be a bit sensitive. So this is how it starts. Once the herds start running and creating a little bit of chaos, that is when we can expect to see great things. I'm going to have to keep moving, because I think these are the initial parts of the chase that will only start escalating in a short while. And once things do fully escalate, then I will stop the vehicle. Oh, it's such a toss-up as to what to do. Okay, this is it. I'm going to keep an eye on the others. You've got that one there. Perfect. The others, you're still on the best option for now. The others are all lagging behind. No joy, not enough chaos created. But they're trying, and they're hungry, and I'm very, very happy that we are here to be able to experience this. Like I said, this is a first for me to see them hunting a large herd like this in broad daylight. And it's proving a lot more tricky for them than it is when they hunt them at dusk or dawn. Okay, I need to keep moving. Oh, the other cheetah's going in there on the left. It's going charging in. Oh, it's going for the Topi. Can you see the Topi? Just put your head up onto the Topi. The Topi. It's coming straight away. But it's not over yet. They've got a lot of work still to do to subdue this Topi. But I think now that all of them are on it, it is doomed. Let's see what happens here. How incredible was that? They saw the Topi, it stood out from the rest, and they gunned it down. Well done there, Jar, on finally finding it. It's so tricky when there's so many predators in different areas to know where to put the camera, but you got in there just in time. Look at all the wildebeest coming and running in now. There's one cheetah just off to the right that's going to try and keep them at bay. And isn't it an incredible display of this Topi's strength? It's taken 5 cheetah or 4 cheetah quite some time to subdue it, and it's still standing up. But I fear that it is just pure, like simply outpowered here. And overnumbered, or outnumbered, and overpowered rather. Whew. Phew. Well, wish I knew what my heart rate was. That was very, very exciting. And isn't it fascinating how quickly they managed to succeed after so nonchalantly walking around, having a look at the herds. They saw that opportunity, and I wonder if it was because the Topi just stood out so much from the rest of the herd that they decided to attack it. I mean, it's not as big as a wildebeest, the Topi, but certainly bigger than a young wildebeest, which there are a few of in this herd, but maybe it was just difficult for them to work out which one to go for. Are there any other predators that have been spying on this scene unfolding? Is a lion going to come charging in? Are some hyena going to come charging in? Only time will tell. Let's get a little bit closer though. Whew! Wow! Awesome stuff. Not for the Topi, for the cheetah, of course, and for us. Because to be in the right place at the right time to be able to witness something like that is very, very fortunate, and something that doesn't happen every day. So if this is your first live safari, you've got off to a very, very lucky start. One thing we have learned is that one individual is certainly the master of the coup de grace, and that is D'Artagnan. We were discussing earlier if he's the lead hunter, and no, he's not always the lead hunter, but almost every time we've come across them making kills, he is almost always the one who administers the chokehold, which he continues to do now as the others begin to feed. And this meal, provided it doesn't get stolen by any other predators, is going to provide these 5 boys with a wonderful meal. So they're going to be nice and full-bellied after this. I'm told a lot of you are still in awe of what we've just witnessed, and yes, it certainly was a very exciting event. We've got a visitor coming onto the scene. If you just zoom out a bit more, there's an ostrich who's decided to come and spectate. So it's all happening here in the Masai Mara. Action unfolding everywhere, and this place is really one of a kind. The spectacles that we get to share and witness with you are quite something. Well done, D'Artagnan, on doing the hard work and putting this Topi out of its misery as fast as you possibly could. It's a very, very windy day, so you can probably hear everything flapping around. And I'm very, very happy that we got to share that incredible action with you guys. But now we are going to be sending you off to Tristan, who's found another interesting animal.
I have indeed. How cool is this? So from one spotted cat feeding to another. So this is our first meeting, well, my first meeting of quarantine, and he's busy eating a little baby warthog that he's caught. He managed to grab one, and the mother warthog is in the background busy watching what's going on as he's crunching away. The visual of him is not great at the moment because he's kind of tucked down, his head down in the grass feeding, but still super cool to see him. I can't believe we're actually finally getting to see him. I didn't think we'd have a situation where we would get to see him at all. He kind of has been hanging around so much on Cheetah Plains and in Koro and Torchwood that seeing him is a very, very, very big surprise. So super, super excited by this. It's really absolutely incredible to see him. Now, I wonder when he managed to catch this, because the guys said that they followed him and he came here, but it must be a fairly fresh kill because there's a warthog in the background that's watching what's going on. Now, generally, warthogs won't stick around if one has been killed. They won't kind of just sit here and watch hours after it's happened. It's normally only if it's just happened, then they sit and they kind of watch what's going on and they work out what's happened to their little one. So I'm surprised that he walked in this direction. Maybe the presence of another leopard around, he kind of killed it and then walked off in that area just to check and then came back. I don't know, but super cool nonetheless that we got to catch up with him. And he looks absolutely incredible. He's big and full and healthy, that's for sure. I know he's come off another carcass just before this. He had an impala that he was managed to feed on. You can see how round his tummy is at the moment. I'm sure a lot of you are super happy to see Quarantine. Hopefully he'll put his head up at some point, because I still actually haven't even seen his face. It's just been ears through the top of the grass, but I'm sure he will. Doesn't look like a very big carcass. It looks like just a little one, but you can hear him crunching away on those bones, and I wonder how big this is. Maybe this is one of the first little piglets of the summer, because we haven't seen any tiny piglets just yet. It's the right time for them now. We should start seeing little piglets, so maybe this is a very small piglet. And if it is, well, he's going to eat everything. He'll crunch through literally every little bit of that carcass. He's going to go through its sort of skull, everything. Hello, boy. He's very beautiful. It looks just like Mvula to me. He's got that kind of Mvula-looking face and light-colored eyes. What a treat to see him. I wonder if he's going to spend more time on Chitwa. That will be wonderful if he does, because it means that we get to follow another one of the lineage of Kruger. It seems as though the boys always tend to hang around, and the girls are the ones that have kind of had a much harder time of it from her lineage. Shavinzi went missing, and now Shongile has also not really been seen very much, and so the boys are the ones that seem to be thriving in the form of Hosana and Quarantine and Shavambalana. They've all been around and all been kind of part and parcel of this area for quite some time, and it's been much easier to follow their progress than it has been the girls, which begs the question as to the theories that we all have. We always think that females will almost portion off a part of their territory to their daughters, but you can see the males also have an ability to kind of edge in here and stay in here. And with the older males that we've got around in the form of Mvula and Tingana, there is opportunities for younger individuals like Quarantine to set up territories and still stay within an area close to their mom's natal territory. I mean, this is where we are now. I've once seen Kruger this far to the east, so it does happen from time to time that she used to come this way, and so he is still kind of partly in his mom's territory, which is pretty amazing to think. We always read books that say male leopards will be pushed away and that will never really be in their mother's territory. When they're younger, they'll be kind of cast aside and be nomadic, and only maybe later they come back into those areas. But we can see very clearly, I mean, he ousted his brother basically in the form of Shavambalana, so not same litter, but he ousted his brother, pushed him into Kruger, and now Hosana seems to be hanging around. And in fact, Hosana from where we are now has just been found not very far. He's behind Chitwa Dam wall, so we're not that far away, and so he's around, Tingana's around. It's a seriously interesting male leopard dynamic that's going to unfold over the next few months. I think we're in for a serious treat, and really, really going to be very, very fascinating to be able to see what goes on. Looks like he's almost done now. It doesn't seem like there's too much left there. I can't really see what he's got left in terms of how much of that carcass is still there, but just the way that he's feeding and the sort of the depth of the grass, it can't really be a very big carcass. It must be quite small, because I can't even see any fur or blood or any bones or anything like that. And if it was a decent sized warthog, it would be visible. Now, Sky, you say this is either an appetizer or dessert. I would say appetizer. We're in the early hours of the morning, so this is his smoothie before his day starts. He's just having a little warthog for breakfast, and who doesn't like a bit of bacon and pork sausage for breakfast? Well, clearly our leopards do, and you'll find Tingana and the likes, the bigger males, love to hunt these baby warthogs, and I'm pretty sure that Hosana and Tumba will pick it up quite quickly as well. They're going to both learn very fast that young little piglets are a tasty morsel, and that they can be quite easy to hunt in that they obviously come out of water burrows, out of termite mounds. And so I've seen a number of male leopards, they sit on top of the mound and they wait for the adults to run out, and then as the piglets come out they grab them. So I'm sure the young boys will figure out the technique as well, and it does make a really good appetizer. And I suppose if you're as full as Quarantine, maybe dessert is actually a better call with all of this, because he seems to have had his main meal already before this. His belly is big and bulging, and this is just a little snack just to keep things going, or a little dessert just to top off the meal. But there we go, he's standing up now. Now he's a beautiful individual. He's still not quite the size of Tingana or even Anderson, Djuma, those boys, but he is a beautiful individual. He's a very pretty looking leopard, that's for sure. I'm super excited to actually see him. So cool. But as I was saying, it's pretty much finished now, so hopefully he's going to go. There's a really nice big termite mound behind us, and I'm hoping that's where he's going to go and settle. It's just on top of the mound and have a good kind of nap there. But I'm so excited. I actually am a bit of a loss for words, because I didn't think I would actually see Quarantine. I had kind of written it off, given that we weren't on Cheetah Plains and Torchwood area, and I didn't think I'd ever get a chance to spend time with this individual. So super cool. He's a beautiful cat though. Hello, boy. This is so cool. It's always a good day when you meet a new leopard for the first time, when you haven't seen one before and you get to see a new individual. It is the best thing. And as our word for the day, or a new word that we have in camp now, as Kirst has just mentioned in my ear, this is a flabbergasting sighting. Yes, it is, Kirst. I'm flabbergasted at the fact that I get to see Quarantine. Now, careful your head, Senzo. There's a very big branch behind you, and I don't want to decapitate you on our way back. So there we go. Just going to make sure that Senzo doesn't get hurt, and I'm just going to try and reposition. It looks like quite a nice little open section just to the sort of front side of Quarantine, so I'm going to just try and get in there. There's also a very large stump that I need to be very careful of as well. So Ellen, you say Quarantine will be 5 years old next month, so he's still a youngster. I mean, at the end of the day, male leopards really will only kind of reach fully grown at 7, so he's still got growing to do, and he will get bigger. He's a beautiful example of a leopard though, I can tell you that. He is absolutely one of the better looking leopards I've seen. I don't know if he's quite as striking as Tumba, but he definitely is absolutely beautiful. He's got I like his face. He reminds me of a young Mvula. I don't know why, he just does. He's got a similar kind of boxy face, and those eyes are of a similar kind of color, so I suppose that's maybe why it feels like he's kind of that sort of way inclined, the Mvula side of life. And they all have a very similar, all of his offspring have had a very similar look about them. They kind of have rather large ears, and then they have these kind of light colored eyes. They're always very pretty leopards to see. So there we go. That should be quite a nice angle and quite a nice view to be able to spot him nicely. So he's just going to groom himself off. This is typical leopard behaviors. Once they've eaten, is to make sure that they are clean and well looked after. We saw it yesterday with Hosanna when he fell in the water. After Quarantine is now eaten, it is time to make sure that they are as clean can be, because they don't like bits of meat on them. They don't like to be dirty. They don't like any of that stuff. So they would rather be able to get themselves clean and to be able to kind of make sure that their coat is in good condition. I'm pretty sure though he's not going to be down for too long. He'll groom himself like this, and with the fact that there are other warthogs in the area, maybe, just maybe, he might decide to go up onto the mound to be able to watch them. But this is epic. I know he's not doing much, and I know it's a leopard and he's grooming, and we see a lot of leopards in this area, and we're very fortunate to see them. But when you've waited a very long time to see a leopard, and you've tried a lot, and you've had kind of tough times to try and get to it, to when you finally do get to see one, it's really so cool. So I'm super excited this morning, and I'm very glad that I've managed to actually spend some time with quarantine, well, hopefully we'll spend quite a lot longer with him as well. I know it's kind of later in the drive, but we'll definitely spend the remainder of our time here with him this morning, and hopefully this afternoon he'll also be around. A double dose of quarantine certainly won't hurt, and if he's not around, we know that the young man Hosanna is also in the area too. So hopefully going to be a Karula themed day, really, in terms of the offspring that she has that are in the area. And we're only missing Shongile needs to come out, and then that would be the 3 that are kind of seen in this area regularly from her lineage. Right, well, I'm going to sit with quarantine a little bit longer. Like I said, I'm going to try and enjoy the time that we've got with him and make sure that we really maximize every second that we can. And so while I kind of do that and follow him as to wherever he's going to go, let's go back to Scott, who's got some feathered friends.
Well done to the spotted cats for acquiring themselves 2 different breakfasts this morning. And these cheetah have got some other visitors that have caught the message, or got the message rather, that there is a possible meal nearby, and there's a few vultures floating in, and the message is spreading. Let's have a look to the right quickly. It's incredible. I mean, sadly the roof is in the way, but I can literally see about 20 vultures ahead of us, and off to our right you can see a whole bunch coming in. And the more they descend upon this area, the more likely it is that other predators like hyena or lion are going to get the message that there's a meal here. So that could attract some possible problems for the cheetah. I just love the way the bush is effective, and vultures from very, very far away are going to continue to see all the other vultures dropping down here. And before we know it, we could have about 50 or 100 vultures in this sighting, which is going to be wonderful. They're probably just going to wait. You know, they're not going to try and overwhelm the cheetah. They're just going to wait their turn, wait for the cheetah to move off. But what we may see is the cheetah chasing the vultures from time to time. D'Artagnan's already given them one quick little chase, but... oh, there he goes. Is it him again? Yeah. So he definitely seems like, you know, the father figure of this coalition. He does, not the dirty work, but he does a lot of useful things like performing the chokehold to dispatch their prey, and now while the rest are feeding, continues to try and keep the order and keep the vultures at bay. It's been an interesting life being a vulture. You just have to sit and wait very patiently for others to finish feeding before you can. Hello PT Watcher, you'd like to know if vultures ever steal kills? And not likely, not from a coalition of 5 cheetah. Maybe one cheetah could get overwhelmed by vultures if there are enough of them, because as it chases one bunch away as they approach, the others can come in and start feeding. But you know, they're so much bigger, the cheetahs are so much bigger and stronger than the vultures, that the vultures do need to be fighting over their food. And I think it's fair that D'Artagnan throws his weight around a little bit, seeing as though he's been doing all the hard work this morning. So it's unlikely, you know, that vultures will be able to steal kills from most of the large predators. Very good. Well, we'll give you some visuals of these last few vultures floating in down onto terra firma. They've got strong winds to negotiate today, which is actually probably helping their landing. That's why they can land so gently. And we have Justin and Quarantine, who is now on the move.
Well, he is, and I think this is exactly where he dug out the piglets earlier, or that piglet that he got, and maybe there's more piglets inside that he knows are there, and that's why he's come to this area. You can see there's a lot of disturbed soil here. There's a big hole that goes into the ground, and I have a funny feeling that he knows there's more piglets around and that he might want more. I said that he might go after the others if they are around, and I think he's trying to listen and look inside here and just see, can he hear movement? If he can hear movement, then you might find him going down and into that area to try and then dig and try and get towards these little baby warthogs again and try and pull out another one. At the end of the day, it's easy pickings for a male leopard. If he can find them, then he can get in there and he can get himself a really decent meal, because sometimes there'll be litters inside there of 5, 6, 7 piglets, even up to 8, and you'll find that that means that he can just literally one by one grab them, and 8 piglets actually becomes quite a decent meal. You can see he's sniffing around a little bit. I think maybe he's decided, no, not there. There's another hole not too far from us that he's heading towards. You can see his nose is on the ground. He's sniffing, so maybe he's trying to work out where did these warthogs go from this section, try and pick up the scent of them again and then follow to wherever they may have run. It also could be where he killed this piglet. He might have killed it here and then dragged it all the way to where we were, and there's just still the scent of those little ones in that area. But he's definitely nose to the ground smelling. I'm sure he wants to find the rest of them. I'm pretty sure he knows there's more than just what he's currently eaten, that there might be a few other piglets. You can see he's just going down towards that hole, which is right near where that car is. So it is a very cool thing to be able to see that, and those guests there are being absolutely spoiled. You can imagine coming all the way to Africa and then having a leopard that's a meter away from you is a very, very special experience, and there's very few places in the world that you can have something like that. Sabi Sands has got to be one of the best for it. There are other areas that are great with leopards and good leopard density, but just the sheer kind of proximity and relaxed attitude of a lot of our leopards makes this one of the best leopard viewing areas in the world. You can see he's not quite sure. He's kind of looking around and checking and sort of seeing where he can go in order to find his piglets. He's sniffing also a lot of the trees, which means I think he's picking up the scent of another leopard as well. Mr. P, most certainly leopards would crawl into burrows or dens for warthogs. I have seen Anderson doing it, I've seen Tingana doing it, I've seen Mvula doing it. They do it regularly, and it is dangerous in that there could be an adult warthog sitting there with its tusks facing forward and they could get hurt. Mofufanyan once did it and he got his tusks from between his eyes over his head. It gashed all the way over. So it is dangerous work, but it is something that can be done. So there's a massive hole here that we don't want to go into. That's not going to be very good. Thank you, Noel, for pointing that out. So Noel just told me, she kind of gave me a little tap and told me that I'm going to disappear down an aardvark burrow, and no one wants to disappear down an aardvark burrow. It's not very good for Rusty, and I think Rusty has been abused enough by following wild dogs with Brent and myself in the recent years, so we won't abuse it more with an aardvark burrow. But like I was saying, it's very, it's very dangerous for a leopard to go down, but they will do it. If they feel like they can get to that warthog, they most certainly will. And if they feel like there's no adults inside, then it's just piglets, well then they'll just dig and dig and dig and dig, and they'll actually use their paws to claw away soil to get to those and make space to be able to get into an area where they can potentially dig those little piglets out and pull them out. So they most certainly will do it. It's something that I've seen regularly from them, and particularly male leopards. Female leopards, they don't tend to do it. They tend to be a little bit more shy of going into a burrow where there's warthogs. They know warthogs can potentially be quite dangerous, but male leopards have no such qualms about doing it. He is absolutely gorgeous, this male though. He is an incredible looking individual. He's got a bit of a dewlap. It's not quite that big just yet, but he really is a wonderful specimen of a leopard. Now, Mac, you're asking, is Quarantine's eyes blue? Well, blue is not really the word I would use for them. They've got a bluish tinge, but they are very light colored. That's probably a better way to put it. So he's got very light colored eyes, much like Mvula, much like Tumba. They've all got these lighter shades, and I mean, some are a little bit more blue or green. So in his case, he's got a more blue tinge. Tumba's is a more green tinge. Mvula also more bluish coloration. And it's just the way things are with these guys. That lineage seems to have some reason the lighter color eye gene, but it's not, blue is not really the color I would call it. It's just very, very light. Now, is he going to go up the mound for us and stop there? If he does, I'll be super happy, because it will be absolutely beautiful for him to be up there. Hold on, let's see. There we go, he is going up. Well done, Quarantine. Seems to like termite mounds. A lot of the photographs I've seen of Quarantine are up on a mound. And it seems as though this is his favorite kind of place to hang out. There we go. No, you don't go down. Stay there. Yes, you're going to park yourself down. That's absolutely perfect. Hello, boy. Nice to meet you. How cool is this? He really does look very, very, very similar to Mvula in his younger days. And some of the other offspring of that same mother down in the south of the Sabi Sands, he looks very similar to another male that we used to see down there. I forget his name now, actually, which is quite strange. I used to see him quite a lot, and I really used to enjoy spending time with him. But I'm just trying to think what his name was. He was a little bit on the shy side. Mandlev, that was his name. So we used to have a leopard there called Mandlev, and he used to have big ears, which is a trait of the Mvula bloodline. But that leopard, Mandlev, and Quarantine are very similar in a lot of ways. He tends to have a little bit more of a longer muzzle than what the leopard down in the south had, but still very, very similar in a lot of respects. You see now he's spotted something, so he's definitely piqued his interest. Maybe the warthogs are not too far away now, and he's now seen where they are. But see, look at that. You see how he's just adjusting his sort of field of view, moving his head, and those incredible senses that he's got in the forms of his eyes and his ears are going to try and just work out what exactly is going on and where they're moving to. And if he's spotted warthogs, well, I can tell you then he's going to probably start going after them. He knows that they're around here. It's just a matter of finding them. And this is why termite mounds are the best thing for a leopard, because they get a little bit higher. It allows them to see over the grass and to be able to spot small things like warthogs in amongst these grassy areas, where they can then focus on it and work out a way to go and stalk them. So from here he'll be able to then work out, right, these warthogs are moving in a certain direction, I need to loop around and use certain environmental conditions to help me with that. The thing is about this morning is there's no real sun, so he's not going to be able to use sun in a direction to try and kind of get him into place and to use the sun to his advantage. Also very little wind this morning, so he's actually got kind of free rein as to move any side he wants. So what he'll try and do more than anything else is focus on cover to be able to then find what he's looking for. But you can see how he just moves and tries to kind of figure out exactly what's going on. It might also not be warthogs. It could also be steenbok or duiker. There's lots of them around as well in this area. I've seen Tundi make many a duiker kill in this particular section that we're in, so this is not something that I would be surprised about if he did see those. So we'll just have to wait and see. He's definitely spotted something though. You've just finished breakfast, you can't have more. Typical male leopard. Once there's an opportunity, they will then definitely take it. Papadana, Quarantine is a fair size bigger than Hosanna. I mean, Hosanna's getting there. He's by no means a small leopard, and he will get bigger, but Quarantine is definitely bigger. I mean, Quarantine's got quite a few years on Hosanna, and he's most certainly a bigger individual. But it's interesting with Quarantine, it's a slightly different build than what you see from Hosanna. Quarantine has got that sort of stocky, quite short legs, quite bulky head, long muzzle. There's a little bit of a different kind of look to what Hosanna has. Hosanna has a more sort of, it almost looks like he's got slightly longer legs and a much longer tail, funny enough. That's one thing about Quarantine, is that his tail seems very short in comparison to Tumba's and to Hosanna's tail. His one seems to be a little bit on the shorter side, but maybe that's just because he's a little bit bigger and that's why it appears that way. But other than that, like I said, Hosanna just has a slightly different look about him, more rounder face than what Quarantine has got. Quarantine's got this much more kind of elongated muzzle and much more sort of lighter colored eyes. Obviously we see Hosanna's got those darker eyes, but in size wise, Quarantine is definitely much bigger at this stage. I think Hosanna's going to give him a run for his money, though, in terms of later in life. It'll be interesting to see Hosanna at 5 years. I reckon he'll be maybe the same size, if not bigger, than Quarantine will be. I would like to see Kunuma again. Last time I saw Kunuma was quite some time ago, and I would like to see Kunuma just to see if whether the two, because Kunuma is the direct brother of quarantine, they were litter mates, and so it would be interesting to see who's actually a little large out of the two of them. When I last saw Kruger, he was still a young individual, so it would be difficult to kind of base it on that, but it would be interesting to see, because I know he's now dominating down on Mala Mala and has become a fixture of that area, so it's going to be interesting to see. Veronica, yes, I have. I've been incredibly fortunate in that I have now seen every single one of Kruger's offspring. So from the first ones, Tandi's Shadow, to her next two, which was Shivinzi and Shavambalana. Then she had Quarantine and Konuma, and then Hosana and Shongile. So that's all of them. I've been fortunate to have spent time with every single one. Konuma I've only seen once, Quarantine only once, but the others I've seen quite a few times and spent a lot of time with all of them. So it's been an epic thing to see, especially from a female that has the legacy that Kruger does. It's you know, she's a very special female leopard. She's probably one of the most successful female leopards that I know of, certainly. I mean, I've never seen a female leopard anywhere else in any of the areas of the Sabi Sands be as successful with raising cubs as she was, and to dominate the way that she did and provide food. I mean, she only, as far as we know, lost one cub, and to do that in 12 years of being an adult leopard is really an absolutely insane feat. If you look at any of the other leopards around us, they have had no way had any such luck. And we're talking about in the same area. So Tandi has lost cubs, Shadow loses cubs, Salehesh lost quite a few cubs, Moya has lost cubs, so Inkanyeni has lost, Beacon female before that, who else? Shavinzi, she obviously disappeared, so we don't know if she's had cubs. I'm just trying to think who else. Shikavi in this west, she's lost. I mean, there's lots. There's all over this area. They've all lost numbers of litters and whole litters, whereas, you know, Kruger managed to kind of keep most of her cubs alive, and as far as we know, like I say, only one that she managed to lose in her entire life, which is an absolutely insane feat. And the thing about it is, we often talk about Shadow's kind of bad luck and the fact that she's had a lot of male leopards to deal with and a lot of other factors, and she's been in a kind of bad place in comparison to Tandi and Kruger. But I mean, Kruger still had to deal with a lot. I mean, she still at the end of the day had to deal with hyenas, to deal with Thinkuma Pride, the Majingalans. I mean, she lived through Majingalans, Matimbas, Mapochos. She had to deal with all of those male lions, so she had a lot of different threats to her sort of survival and the cub survival, and the fact that she managed to raise all of these individuals is just a testament to why she became so well known and why she became such a legend. I mean, she's really was a phenomenal mother, and it's sad that I still feel like she might have had one more litter in her. At 12 years old, you do find females still denning, so it's sad that she disappeared before giving that one last litter. And at least in the litter that she did leave us with, the last one, Hosan and Shongile, have been two of the most entertaining leopards and two of the prettiest leopards that I've seen. They really are amazing. They are relaxed, and they've provided us with hours and hours and hours of entertainment. And it's why, for me, I want Shongile to be around. I want Shongile to make an appearance, because if she can continue that legacy, the males obviously are part of that legacy, but they're not going to continue it in that they can't have cubs of their own. And so, you know, Tandi and Shadow, yes, they can continue it, but they are, at the end of the day, much older individuals. It just would have been so nice to have a young female at the age of Shongile or Shavinzi, even if she was still around, to be able to stay in these areas and to have then kind of populated it more with cubs from that line. So it's a bit sad that Kruger is no longer around, and that, you know, Shongile has not really been seen. Shavinzi, same thing happened to her. She just disappeared, and so hopefully Shongile will come out soon and will end up being a leopard that we'll see in this general area. Right, while we watch Quarantine in his absolute beautiful state on top of this mound as he watches around, let's go back to my friend Scotty Dyson, who I think is still messing around with birds of a feather, and hopefully it'll be entertaining.
Well, what an exciting sunrise safari it's been, filled with lots of wonderful, wonderful scenes. And the vultures continued to descend upon this kill. And I'm going to be very surprised if a hyena or a lion doesn't pop onto the scene shortly. Both of the latter will look up into the sky and notice vultures descending and head into those areas knowing that there could be an easy meal. For now though, the vultures are all waiting patiently, and the cheetah are gobbling up as much of this topi as they can, as quickly as they can. We've repositioned and got into a wonderful spot to be able to actually capture the vultures coming in and landing, because they are landing into the wind, which is blowing from us towards the cheetah. So they have a nice slow soft landing. Didn't catch your name there, but somebody would like to know what percentage of kills will cheetah actually be able to keep for themselves and not have stolen. It's going to fluctuate and vary hugely on luck, on the group of cheetah that you are following, the area that those cheetah are in, the density of lion, leopard and hyena in those areas. So there's no set statistic for that, and it'll fluctuate greatly. Even if we were to follow just this coalition and how often they manage to finish a kill as opposed to have it stolen, it would vary from one month to the next. So a tricky one to answer. In my experience with them, they've finished more kills than they've had stolen, or they've been able to eat the majority of them. So they've definitely not been having more kills stolen than compared to that they're able to finish. But I was told, I mean, in the week that I was gone, I think they had 2 kills stolen in 2 days from either lion or hyena as they took them down. So it will vary. Now what I'm hoping, and what will be an incredible scene, is if these cheetah decide to chase the vultures one last time, because they'll chase them straight towards us. We've got the sun in our favor, and we'll get some incredible views. For now though, it seems like their number one priority is feeding, and that does make sense, because as frustrating as it may be for the cheetah to have all these vultures around them, and with the knowledge that they could be attracting other predators onto the scene, their primary goal needs to be to eat as much of this meat as they can. And they're doing a good job at it, that's for certain. They were certainly hungry. Even yesterday evening they needed a meal. Oh! Vulture flew straight through the shot there, quite perfectly. I wonder how much longer this windy weather is going to persist for, because it's notably windier now the last 5 days than it's been for the whole few months that I've been here. Come on, D'Artagnan. No, not interested in chasing the vultures for us. Let's see if we can get any of these vultures coming in, Jahawi. Some close-ups on them coming in. Let's see if the next one doesn't provide us with a better opportunity. Yeah, there's another one that's coming in that should be a goodie. Just have to wait for it to get below the level of the roof. Hello Lily Lee, you'd like to know if one hyena would be able to chase away this entire coalition, and it has happened on one event. The first morning we actually ever saw them hunting, they finished most of a young wildebeest, and one hyena came in and they moved off without putting up much of a fight. But I think in general the answer to that would be no. These 5 would be able to chase off one individual hyena if they wanted to. But even that, Lily Lee, I mean, it's what we need to remember is whenever we ask questions or whenever we think about wildlife, we should always ask the human equivalent question. And basically that means it's like saying, what would happen if Scott and Tristan got into a fight? And what would happen if Scott and Steph got into a fight? We're both the same species, and it's always the same species in question, but the outcome is going to be different. And it's the same for these animals. You know, they often get to know their enemies far better than I think we actually understand. So some hyena, they may be more dominant over it, whereas one other hyena could come in and it could be like the scariest hyena in all the land, and then they're going to give way to it. So it's very difficult to answer any of these questions conclusively with the knowledge that it is entirely correct. There's so many variables that go into it, in the same way that there are variables if we were to ask ourselves, well, what would happen if humans, what would happen if 2 sisters left home together? Are they going to stay together? Are they going to be friends? Are they going to have a fight? And you know that there's all manner of variables with us, and it's the same with wild animals. They all have their own personalities. They're all slightly different. Some hyena are bigger and more nasty and dangerous than others. So I hope that kind of helps you understand my predicament when trying to answer a question like that. You know, we had an occasion where the 2 cheetah sisters kept 2 hyena at bay. And had you have asked me my thoughts before that happened, I would have said there's no chance. And on other occasions, we've seen one hyena come in and steal food from them. So I guess it depends on so many things. How hungry the cheetah are, how desperate they are for a meal. Is it worth them taking the risk? How desperate is the hyena? How nasty and scary and big is the hyena? They're things that are difficult for us as humanoids to understand, but for the animals, I think, you know, they obviously can weigh up the odds a lot better than we can. Very wonderful. We're gonna stay here, make sure no other predators come onto the scene, and we're going to be sending you back to the and Q.
Well, just in time, because Quarantine has been down and grooming and really quite relaxed in behind a little bit of grass, and now all of a sudden he's up and moving again. So just perfect timing, really. The only problem is that we are a bit trapped where we are now, so I'm going to have to just move, but he's going to go past a vehicle and we're going to have a bit of a obstruction in our way. So let's just try and get back this side. So one nice thing about having Rusty or Wendy, whichever one you want to call it, is that they're so short and small that getting around in thick areas like this is absolutely a cinch in comparison to driving something like a cruiser, which would be a lot harder, I can tell you. Now he is moving, which I'm a bit kind of, I suppose, not unhappy about, but I was hoping he was going to go and have a really good long nap on top of that termite mound. I was hoping that that was where he was going to kind of spend the day, and that this afternoon it would be very easy to come and find him, but that's very much wishful thinking. We all know that finding leopards is never that easy, and they generally are never that obliging to just sit and wait for us. Although I suppose we cannot complain at all with the amount of leopard sightings we've had over the last few months. We've been absolutely spoilt with how many leopards we've seen. We've just seen so many, and in fact in the last few weeks I actually don't know how many different individuals we have seen. We've seen Tundi, Shadow, Tumba, Hosana, we've had Tingana, Mvula, Quarantine. It's a lot of leopards to be seeing in the last kind of 2-3 weeks, so we've been absolutely spoilt, that's for sure. It's not only the sort of quality of the sightings that we've had, but it's also and the quantity, I suppose, but it's also the different individuals that we've had. So the number of different individuals is quite staggering when you think that amount of leopards that I've just listed now has been seen on 1,000 hectares. I mean, that's really not very much at all, and it's a number of leopards to be scattered across that small area. It just shows you how dense the population is within the Sabi Sands and how small the territories for these leopards are because of that. So I mean, in other areas of the world, so if you go into Kalahari or you go into the parts of the Namib Desert, you'll find leopard there, but those leopards are going to have territories that are bigger than the Sabi Sands for one female leopard. So it's a very different thing to what we see here. I mean, here our territories are absolutely tiny for these guys, and I think the largest male territory is Anderson's, and his territory is probably only, I would say, acres wise, maybe 15,000 to 20,000 acres. And you compare that, like I say, to the Kalahari leopards, where there's females that will have territories of 100,000 hectares or 200,000 acres in that area. It's pretty insane to think. Now I'm trying to work out how exactly I'm going to get through here. Hopefully I'll be able to just negotiate that little section. There we go. So I believe Taylor McCurdy, who's kind of been a bit absent over the last little bit, given that Scott's Cheetah have absolutely stolen the show, and well, Quarantine too, I suppose. She's decided she wants to contribute, and she's going to contribute with something not spotty, but stripy.
Finally, you have no idea, we've been driving and driving and driving and driving and driving, and we saw a juvenile battlier which flew away, and then we also saw some warthogs and they ran away. But I don't blame them. It is horrific out here in the triangle today. The wind is pumping across the valley. It's not particularly pleasant, and I think the animals are feeling that too. The zebra are not so bad here. There are a couple of pockets where it's sheltered. Where these two are standing, though, it isn't particularly sheltered. It's unpleasant, but they're keeping out of the sun. It's hot when you're in the sun, and they'll probably just rest around here. And the Sausage Tree Pride lions actually need to come this way. I think they would have an absolute blast, because it's the most densely populated area we've driven today. Everywhere else has been horribly empty. But very quiet. But that's okay. I suppose it's one of those things when you do have these windy days and you can't have lots of fun all the time. And Tristan, I must say, I'm so ecstatic that you have managed to find Quarantine. Christine, you say that you love zebras. They are pretty cool, aren't they? Look at how they sort of blend so well together. I think that's such an amazing shot, and it just goes to show one of the theories as to why zebras have got the patterns on their bodies when they stand up against each other. It's pretty difficult to pick out an individual, and it's quite a nice way. You see it the best when there's a young foal glued to mom's side. They become almost invisible with the very, very long legs that match the adults. But these are, of course, not youngsters. The one at the back, I'm not sure if it's a male or female, but the one closest to us is most certainly a young stallion. I don't think he'd be in charge of a herd just yet. Definitely some bigger boys around at the moment. And they're all in small little pockets around here. That actually looks a little bit more like a mare back there. Anyways, how cool has today been? A variety of animals, lots and lots and lots of excitement everywhere we've gone. I'm going to send you all the way back across to Tristan, who is smiling from ear to ear because he's got the most beautiful cat in the Sabi Sand.
I am indeed, Taylor. It's been a most epic day. We've had such fun out here, and to see this leopard has been a long time coming, so it's been very, very cool to spend time with this guy. And it's like Taylor says, it's just been a most amazing show. We've had all kinds of variety of things, from big to small, from an insane cheetah sighting with Scott, who just seems to have the magic touch when it comes to those 5 and always seeing some incredible stuff with them, to our boy Quarantine, who's wagging his tail as he slowly meanders past another car. So we're going to try and just catch up with him quickly and just get one last view of him before he kind of disappears behind another vehicle there, to finish up our morning, because it has just been so cool. So I'm super glad that we managed to come all the way down here and that he came to Chitwa. At one point he was on in Koro and I thought, well, that's us done. We're not going to get him at all, and it's going to be a situation where it's another near miss. But as it's turned out, everything has worked in our favor, and Quarantine is now still with us and still around. The interesting part about this is he was heading west for quite a while now. He's now turning back east and northeast a little bit, but he was heading west for quite some time, and he was kind of coming deeper into Chitwa, which is hopefully a good sign. I think this is going to be a sort of trait of Quarantine's. I think he's going to start pushing Tingana from this side a little bit. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the future years we see Quarantine quite regularly around Chitwa. I think it's going to be one of those things. As soon as he discovers the dam, I think that's going to be a perfect part of it. Now, I know a lot of you are saying thank you for showing Quarantine. Well, I didn't know, thanks to me, I didn't find him. I just got lucky that he came this way, but I am just as thankful that he decided to come onto an area that we can go. So I think we need to thank Quarantine from all of us. But I'm sure Quarantine is missing the tip of his tail. It looks as though he's only got a little short, little stubby area. Unfortunately, that is though all the time that we have. So from short tales to the ending of our morning, it really has been just the most epic morning of driving around. I mean, I've had a lot of fun, and to see this leopard has just been a special thing for me. So I'm certainly very happy about that. I hope that you've all enjoyed the morning that you've had with both myself, Taylor, and Scott. And it's been lots of laughs again to start off things, and then, like I said, the animals took over from there. So from Scott, Taylor, myself, Senzo, and Kirsten FC, we'll see you all this afternoon on the Sunset Safari.